Fitzy, you on?
I'm on.
Well, okay.
What?
It's like 10 seconds. I know you like to, go fashionably late to these things, but holy buckets. That's enough. Yeah, so we tested something out. So Dave's joining us, of course, today. Dave, you're there, right?
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning. Good. So we had a little technical issue, and my camera just stopped working. So I don't know what's going on. I think it's working now, but at some point, like during the show, it's just going to completely stop, I think.
I broke it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, so just real quick, kind of going over a couple of things, just kind of like a one big thing, positives in your life, a couple of press releases. One is from, actually it wasn't a press release, it was an article. We did an update on Andrew Burnett. I wanted to touch on that Rusk County situation of the heroic actions of police. Dave, it's all right with you. I'd kind of like to go over the Jim Ledoux. We kind of had that story last Friday.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I'd like to get your thoughts on that. And then, Fitzy, I saw your post yesterday, so I'd really like to get into the Sheriff's Department 2021 wrap-up and the goals.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's awesome. And then if we have time, I just kind of wrote down, COVID cases and talked to Dave about some other things. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds fun. No.
Yeah, that's no fun. I've been practicing my little hand thing that you like so much, Sheriff, just for you today.
Right in front of the screen. Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Right. And we have a new show sponsor. So excited.
Awesome.
I know.
Let's do it.
And Amanda Williams, good morning. I see her on already. Good morning, Jody.
It's going to be a heat wave. You're right.
Yeah. I can barely hear you, Fitzy.
Why? I don't know.
It's not by design. Good morning, everybody. It's Positive Tuesday today, January 11th, 2022. Special thank you to Shell Lake Police Chief Dave Wilson for squeezing us into his very busy schedule today. This way I don't have to keep hitting the every single time.
Well, I didn't want to leave you hanging. You guys were begging that. So you had to go to the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. I just realized that cut off all of our intro music. That's all right. This is already going terribly. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden. Of course, you're watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. With nearly 20 years of experience, this locally owned and operated business has provided quality work in roofing, garages, siding, windows installations, and they can even build your house or business from the ground up. What? Have an inside job? No worries. They also specialize in kitchen and bathroom remodeling, vinyl and hardwood flooring, and much, much more. Like Fitzy and I, they believe that little things make a big difference. So give them a call today at 715-520-2271. The number's right there at the bottom as well. All right, let's kick this thing off. Gentlemen, good morning.
Brian does a good job. Brian Daniels, the owner, gives back to the community. He's a big supporter of a lot of local things, and so it's pretty nice to have somebody that gives back as part of our show, because he truly does believe in little things make a big difference. So
I love that stuff, right? Look at that. Look how we're already starting off up positive. Hey, by the way, Fitzy, have you had a chance to use your positive impact driver yet?
No, I did use my flashlight last night, though, for my new toolkit.
All right, that's a start. Wait,
that's right.
From the toolkit, you're a cop. Cops always have cool flashlights. Don't you have one of those?
I got a new DeWalt flashlight. I used it last night.
Nice.
That's right.
Morning, Henry. I saw your comment there, too. You've been working on your turkey call?
What's a turkey call?
Turkey call. Me and Henry went a little turkey hunting, so it was kind of fun. We were playing around with different turkey calls.
Okay. Don't know what that is.
That's hunting.
Hunting.
It's an outside thing, Ben. You wouldn't like it.
No.
Yeah, it's an outside thing.
No. I see how this show's going to go already.
Yeah.
Great.
Hey, finally, it's not just me.
Check out my shirt came last week.
Your new Chris Cruzy shirt?
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
So he's going to be on the show the end of this month, right? January 25th, Fitzy. Isn't that right?
2 weeks from today.
2 weeks from today, we will have Chris Cruzy on. So I wanted to, support him, so I ordered a shirt. Oh, I can't really see it very well. That's all right.
I can see it.
Oh, okay. Good. So one big thing. So we
Are
usually
we
like to
going to
start.
sing with them? Wait a second. Are we
What?
going to sing with them or something? Or is he going to launch a new song? Or
I have no
are we
idea.
going to be able to?
No,
Yeah,
it's
Maybe we
new
I should
number one with you
practice.
guys. Yeah.
maybe he'll like make an intro thing for us, so we don't have to keep using the, one of that
Hey,
thing.
there you go.
That'd be
There you
cool.
go.
Maybe he and
There you
Ted Nugent can collaborate.
So, Sheriff, I might as well just get ahead of this one. Where is your DrydenWire T-shirt paraphernalia today?
I don't. I'm in my uniform. I got to give a talk today, so
Oh, goodness.
no DrydenWire stuff today.
All right.
Okay,
right.
so
I
give
don't
me.
have a shirt. We don't have shirts yet, Dave. Oh,
No,
Okay.
I contacted Barb and I said, "Is there anything I'm supposed to be doing?" She goes, "Nope, we're taking." She's on it.
Okay.
She's on
So
it.
now it's Barb's fault.
I wouldn't say fault, but kind of. Oh, good. So give me one big thing.
right.
We always like to kind of start with something positive in our lives. So Dave, I'll start with you. Give me one big thing, one positive thing that's going on in your life, either personally or professionally.
Sure. This week's been kind of a fun week. I got to celebrate my beautiful wife's birthday, my birthday, and our family gathering for Christmas, where we were all finally able to get together, all the families together. So that was pretty cool.
Happy birthday, belated birthday.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. The downside is that the AARP card showed up in the mail. So, but as my county coordinator likes to say, I'm only 32 with shipping and handling. So.
That's cute. I like that. Fitzy, what about you? One big thing, one big positive thing in your life.
Whew. I don't know. I didn't do much this weekend, but we got 4 hockey games this week, so we're going to be home for a couple and in Hayward for a couple. So some big games coming up.
Nice.
Excellent. When would you get to play you? I think hockey dad tonight for me is Amory. So I haven't seen Rice Lake on the schedule.
We're playing North at home, and we play Menominee, and then we go to Hayward for a tournament. So I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we're hockey. Yeah, Brian's got shirts for us. Awesome. We can hook you up, Dave. Don't worry, he'll get you a hat.
So obviously, we always want to kind of touch on any press releases or articles that we have
What
done.
about you? We
What?
didn't talk about you. We didn't talk about you.
What's your positive there?
Well, mine is a work related, and it is we're tested out, and we might put this up later today because I kind of need real time testing. We have a new feature for DrydenWire, or this ability, because this is the time of year for the next couple of months we're going to be making some big changes and adding some functionality into the site as well. And one of them is it's called an auto refresh site. So if I do like a school closings and I have the list, and then I go and I update that article. Well, you have to refresh your page in order to see the updates, or it'll cache like every hour or something. We now have something where you don't have to do anything. You just are on the page, and if I type in an update and hit save, it checks it every 10 seconds, and you get notified, and you'll just immediately see it. No refresh at all. I know that seems like a silly thing for anyone else, but that's a huge thing for us. So I'm stupid excited about that.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so
We're excited.
Barron County, we had last Friday we put up a post. The headline, Fitzy, was court orders life sentence for man convicted of homicide and fatal shooting. I believe that was regarding Andrew Brunette, I think. He got a life sentence for his conviction of first-degree intentional homicide of 23-year-old Garrett McCone. Obviously, you were a part of that as well. Mm-hmm. When you saw that, happy with the results? Anything that you want to add?
Well, really, we kind of knew that was going to happen. I mean, but the question was the judge going to let him have the ability to have parole? And what that means is that when he is 76 years old, he is eligible to ask the state of Wisconsin or come back to Barron County and say, can I have parole? Can I be let out? I've been good. I've been bad. I've been whatever in prison. I've made a difference or whatever.
Sure.
So he has a chance. And so that was what the judge allowed. So he has life in prison, but he is the eligible after 50 years, the 50 years and one day, he can petition the Barron County Court for a hearing 50 years from now and say, can I get out of prison? The judge in Barron County, whoever that is, it won't be Judge Babler, as he stated on the bench. He said, I won't be here in 50 years. So it'll be whatever judge is here will hear that case and hear his side of the story and decide, if he is. And then at that time, victims' families can come back and, there'll be different generations, obviously, 50 years from now, can come back and say, no, I don't believe so. This is why they took my brother, my son, my cousin.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. So he has the ability to have parole at 50. But what that also means, as I learned, because it's 76 years old. But what that means is he's eligible for programs in prison, so he doesn't just sit in a cell, and so he can get a job and pay back to something to the community, or through the community, through the prison system. So that is what the difference is, and I didn't know that until that. But
So
if
just to
you're
clarify,
right,
if you have the what if you
the
have part
option,
of your sentence is you have a parole, a part of that, right?
right,
That opens up those opportunities. But if you are sentenced with and you have no chance of parole, that
you
means
don't
for
get
that
to
entire
do.
time you don't get access to any of that stuff.
Well, it's programming, part of it,
You
as
know?
so that because they said that there's really, I don't know if it's because you're no use, or I mean, there's no use of making you better because you're not going to get out. I don't know the answer. I mean, that's not a good way to put it, but
No,
it
that's
kind
literally
of
what I was thinking. Like, okay, if you
but
have no chance to get back
right.
out, well then screw it. Just sit in a cell.
Well, and I think that's it, because there's other people that you're taking a spot up or whatever it is in the class. I mean, I don't understand it all, but I think that's the basis behind it. So,
Hmm,
so that was interesting. But it doesn't mean he's going to get out on his first chance. I don't know that many people get out on their first chance, but he'll be
sure.
76 years old before he can even ask to get out of prison. Whether he chooses to ask or not, that's up to him. So it was interesting. It was a good case. I think our team did a good job. If you look at it, the Jamie Kloss anniversary was yesterday when she escaped. Was 3 years ago yesterday. And you
Oh
look at
wow.
that sentence, and he got 2 life sentences without the chance of parole. So he can't take part in any programs, which again I think is a good thing
Yeah.
and a great thing.
Dad,
So
no parole, they're
yeah.
toast. Very, very eloquently pointed out, Dad. Yes, thank you.
The non-political way of saying.
Yep. So is that something where when people have parole, you hear about they get, or is there any chance that person gets out? I mean, a reasonable chance that that person could have parole earlier than 50 years?
No, cannot have it in this
Interesting.
sentence.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
they don't get good time, on a intentional homicide charge, from what I
Oh.
understand. Again, I have some limited information on this, and then
Mm.
learning, because I'm like, why do we care? 50 years, 70 years, what's the difference? Life is life. But no, it's has to do with things you can do while you're in the prison
I
system.
didn't know that.
Yeah, either did I. And I mean, we just don't see a lot of that in Northwest Wisconsin. And
No.
I mean, Dave, did you know all that? We just don't have a lot
No,
of those cases.
No.
Yeah.
no. We just arranged the meeting, and then after that, yeah,
Yeah, they
whatever the
take care.
courts and system does.
Right.
So,
We just arranged a meeting. That's a good one. I like that.
Fitzy, I want to get to your. I saw a post that you put up on Facebook yesterday, and we have talked about this in our previous shows that we want to get into some of these things regarding the 2021 wrap up and some goals that you have. And Dave, actually, I'd like to talk about Jim Ledoux a little bit, but first, we also put it wasn't a Barron County; it was in Rusk County. But I just loved this story. Our
I do
headline
too.
was "Heroic Actions of Police Good Samaritan undoubtedly saved life of unresponsive driver following crash." I'm sure you guys saw that, and there was that video of it. How cool
Great
was that? I
video.
saw that, and
It
I'm
was
like,
a great
man,
video.
I love it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
I would encourage any of the viewers to watch it if they haven't. I mean, that's Good Samaritan, citizen, law enforcement working together, saving a life. It was a cool video. So
Yeah,
It was only cool because no one got hurt. They saved a life. I mean, they went
well,
to a
there's
burning
that.
car. Right.
that's kind
I
of the
Yeah.
mean,
deal, right?
but that's where, I mean, that's what makes us great. I mean, law enforcement in Northwest Wisconsin, and law enforcement anywhere, there isn't a cop in the United States, in my opinion, that wouldn't jump into a burning car if they felt they could save a life.
I know you guys are weird that
You
way.
know, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So, but that's what makes the Rusk County guys, are part of our SWAT team.
Mm.
They're special to us. We take care of each other in Northwest Wisconsin. Dave and I talk a lot about that, off the record or off the air, and about how our law enforcement is so great around here. And that was pretty special. Those guys deserve some recognition. That citizen deserves some recognition, because that, it's right place, right time. Sometimes in law enforcement we get lucky, and that's probably 50% of our
yeah.
job. And so luck is a big thing. And the cop noticing something and saying, what, that seems odd, I'm going to go towards it. And you end up with a burning car, you end up with a burglary, or you end up with a drug deal. And so you just go with your gut in law enforcement, and sometimes that pays off for you. So it's a good deal.
I love it. I absolutely love that story. So kind of switching gears here slightly. So Jim Ledoux, we had an exclusive story last Friday that Jim Ledoux, he is the Washburn County Director of Health and Human Services Department. He is tendered his resignation effective March 4th. He's been there for 20 years. Dave, this is obviously a little bit more in your world. Fitzy, I'm not sure. Do you know Jim Ledoux?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know Jim. He's a great guy.
Yeah, and I just want to take a second and say, first to Jim, thank you for everything that he has done. I mean, committing yourself and dedicating yourself to Washburn County for 20 years, and he's grown that department. And Dave, you can certainly speak to this because you're probably on the board because you're on every board, probably 8th board. You're a county supervisor as well. You've had a lot of interactions and dealings with that department and Jim Ledoux specifically. I know, Dad's still on there. If he's still watching, he could say something more if he would like, but I know he worked closely with Dad on a lot of things. I have a lot of respect for Jim. And 20 years, man, that's freaking fantastic. And I think sometimes we just don't take a second and go, thank you for your service and your dedication. But
and
Dave,
I think that goes a long way. I had a chance yesterday was the Health and Human Services Board meeting, which I do chair that one. And of course, we had to formally accept Jim's resignation. Thank him for his service. He definitely has put forward over 20 years what would be argued as very progressive, cutting-edge programs that you don't necessarily see other places. Sometimes at the risk of, rubbing some people the wrong way and how do you allocate monies and so forth and so on. But he was certainly not afraid to take on those challenges and to the betterment of the citizens in Washburn County in which we serve. So, it's been an interesting ride. His words, I think, described it well. And your exclusive, it's been an interesting ride for Jim. And
a heck of a ride, I think, is the words that it used. Oh boy, dang it! I thought we'd go through some mics here. He really did a lot of, and it was interesting. Believe it or not, everyone, not everybody likes me or Dave or Fitzy. I know it's hard to believe, but that is a thing. And it was really interesting. On Sunday morning, I turn on my computer and I get an email from someone. Of course, I don't know. It's like a fake or made up email, and said, just so you know, not everybody liked Jim. And that was literally the entire email. I'm like, who are you and why would you even say that? Like, duh, not everybody likes everybody. Not everybody likes my dad or who's ever.
Well, and we've had
that's fine, but
opportunities to agree to disagree with Jim and work through some issues. But at the end of the day, how about just saying
that dude's
thank
legit.
you to folks that have given 20 years of service to something?
Thank you and go about your day.
Thank you. I mean, that takes a lot of energy and a lot of work to roll out department head stuff. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I know it. So, Dave, speaking of that, what is the next step or the process since you are part of that process? Do they have to make I'm assuming a job announcement at some point, or how does that work for the people in Washburn County that kind of want to know?
The next agenda item yesterday that we covered after we accepted Jim's resignation was to post and fill the position, and the board decided to post that to the street at a Class 2 notice, which you'll see in the paper. And advertise for other applicants. We do have a very strong internal applicant that will certainly be in the mix and for consideration, but that'll be posted, and we will review any applicants that do come in, and it'll go through an interview process and make a selection for the replacement of Jim. And
when is that process? So that goes out, that, what do you say, level 2 or something?
It's a public notice.
Sure. Public notice that goes out. I'm assuming that goes out in this week's paper because it's a few days till the paper comes out. And right?
Well, I was hoping it would, but the Spooner Advocate was in the room, and they advised me during that meeting that they probably wouldn't be ready to receive that notice. So it'll back us up by about a week on the timeline. So it'll be 3 weeks before we have a chance to look over all the applicants that are received and then schedule an interview yet to be determined. So I was kind of hoping it would get out there this week, but maybe this show will get a few more applicants in the hopper quicker. So if you're interested, reach out to the HR department, Washburn County, and we'll go from there.
All right. What are you saying, Fitzy?
Be positive, Ben.
Well,
I
that's
seen
just
your
stupid. I mean, come on. It's Monday. You can't get in the
It's
paper that
Positive
week.
Tuesday,
I
Ben.
mean, come
Happy
on.
thoughts.
You got to wait
Positive.
11 days before you can so you have to wait until that's published before the clock starts ticking, right?
I
No,
believe
you can.
so.
Well, you can choose what but you want it to get out there so people see it. So it's
Right.
not like they won't accept applications tomorrow.
Sure.
But the idea behind, because I'm assuming you put it on your website, you put it other places too, right?
Yes, it'll be on the
Yeah.
county website.
Right.
And then I believe off the top of my head, at least 3 to 5 public places posted. Yeah. So
Right.
however that works, that's our county coordinator's job to worry about all that. We just say, yes, post it to the street and then go from there.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. So, Jim, thank you so very much for your service. And if anybody knows Jim, send him a message, send him an email, and say thanks. So let's now get to our main
Wait,
topic. Please.
I want to thank Jim too, because he's helped Barron County out too.
Oh,
He's
right.
been part of.
How's he helped Barron out?
Well, he's been part of. I mean, it's not like that doesn't stop at the line, whether it's child abuse or it's underage drinking or it's drugs. I mean, Jim was part of helping with the meth problem. I mean, so Jim's done a lot. I mean, he's from around here. He's connected to Barron, Rice Lake, with his kids, and so Jim has done a lot for me and been part of Barron County, and always is willing to have a conversation with me about different issues. So I appreciate Jim and want to thank him for all of his service also.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have probably asked you. I'm just
No,
moving
okay.
right along.
That's okay. You don't care that much about Jim. That's okay. We all do.
All right. Is it okay if I go to the next topic then?
Yeah, it is now.
Okay. It is now. Okay, so I saw I printed it off this morning, but I saw on your Facebook page yesterday, and again, we've talked about this on our previous shows, talking about some law enforcement, your department, kind of a wrap up of 2021 and some goals of 2022, and that was another reason I wanted Dave on today, because that's law enforcement stuff, and I thought he could obviously give some perspective on that or ask questions that I never would have thought of. So, Fitzy, the floor is yours. Where do you want to start?
Well, we're going to break down our stats instead of throwing the whole thing out there, which will be out there shortly after our law enforcement meeting next week. We'll print this whole document, but I wanted to start breaking it down every Monday, and then that gives us a chance to talk about it on Tuesday. So I'm going to break it down piece by piece over the next couple months to talk about some of these stats and go into them in detail, because we do talk about them. So, but for basically 2021 was a very good and steady year for the Sheriff's Department. Basically, we didn't have a lot of crime go up, but we did see a couple things spike tremendously. One of our emergency response team calls, we've talked a lot about that on the show.
Yeah.
They went up, and our traffic fatalities went up substantially in 2021. So those are two things we're going to look at. Why, I can't tell you, because the number of traffic accidents went down, but the number of fatalities went up. So
wait, say it again. Accidents went down. Okay, so less accidents, but more severe.
Right. And so, I don't know why that happened. I mean, so I can't tell you exactly. I don't have an answer for it, because normally if you've seen an increase in accidents, you'd see an increase in fatalities. We saw a decrease in accidents, not a lot. And it stayed pretty level. Most of our crime stayed pretty level in 2021, over 20, 21 versus 20. I don't like comparing those years because of COVID in there, and we didn't, like our enforcement was down because of COVID, things like that in some areas. So I don't like comparing those 2 years, but in our end of the year report, we see multiple years of stuff. So obviously we installed a new body scanner in the jail. We wrapped up some major cases. From last year, we had an officer-involved shooting, and we continued our proactive approach. So we're going to look at some great things to do in 2022, and that's where we set our goals.
So just looking at these preliminary, you're starting to gather this information right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of breaking it down. And again, it's a process, as you just said, that we have to kind of look at. Now that we have the numbers and looking at them, we have to kind of go, okay, why? Is there something that we did good? Is something that we need to improve on? But overall, so far in this process, when you're going through 2021, are you going, you know what, it was a good year? Or is there anything that really stands out and go, man, like, no kidding, this is a huge issue and we got to figure out why?
Well, I think we have to figure out why our emergency response team was called out 15 times instead of 8. I think we have to look at why we had 9 fatalities instead of 4. Was it drugs? Was it alcohol? Was it time of day? Was it things like that? So
Yeah.
I think we need to break that down. And I don't think we'll have an answer because I think every traffic fatality was because of something else. It was a factor. Maybe it was drugs, maybe it was alcohol, maybe it was the sun, maybe it was not paying attention, maybe it was just an accident. So I mean, just accidents happen and bad things happen. So I think that's what we got to look at. So I don't know that we'll have a breakdown and say, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so next week we're going to talk a lot about OWIs, and I think that'll be interesting because I think that's there's some interesting stats in there. So, but we did set our goals for 2022.
But before that, real quick, so I printed this out, and I just want to touch on this. You had also put, we continue to look at ways to make our department better and more attractive for hiring, and continue to make sure our current staff have the tools they need to go home.
I skipped that because I don't want Wilson.
You can't steal anymore, Sheriff. No, you're done stealing for a while. Come on.
So before we kind of move on to the 2022 goals, that's something I would like for both of you to kind of chime in on here. That seems to be a topic that I see a lot in Wisconsin. Other sheriffs and other media outlets, they will, have conversations with their local municipalities, their chiefs and their sheriffs, and it's becoming a thing. It really is, regarding
really is.
hiring and staffing. So, Dave, what are you seeing in Shell Lake?
Well, like most of our small agencies in the area, there is just a very shallow or non-existent pool of applicants. I interviewed a young man actually on New Year's Eve when I was working, and he came up and chatted with me. And under the normal market, I would have hired him on the spot. He's already got most of the way through a process, a part-time in another agency, 2 other interviews, and a full-time interview in another agency coming up here shortly. So if I had hired him, there's a likelihood by the 15th of January, I wouldn't have him again already. So that pool is very, very shallow. And there's a high market. The last recruit class only graduated 7 applicants, and the last Chiefs and Sheriffs Roundtable I was at, there was approximately 40 job opportunities on the table. So I'll let you guys do the math. They're just not the applicants, and a lot of agencies. We could joke about it, but we do steal good quality people from other agencies. We did that for a while. We're
recruit,
at the point where there's
is the word.
Yeah, we're just. I'm sorry.
Recruit. I don't think steal. Right? We're trying to be positive words.
No, they steal them fair and square. But we've gotten to the point where there's literally nobody left to steal. So I'm happy to see that the state level has taken up the narrative, and I've seen it. I haven't had a chance to really digest it. But Sheriff, I'd like to ask you, are you more familiar than I am with some proposed legislation on recruiting efforts? There's some legislation out there. Again, I haven't had a chance to really dive into it, but maybe you can give some insight on some of those issues. There's some incentives for sending young people to school and get certified and things like that.
Yeah, I can comment a little bit about some of that, and knock on wood, I'm not hiring right now. I don't have an opening in jail, dispatch, or patrol. Dave and I talked about that last week when we talked about it. I think I'm lucky. Again, I think I can draw a little bit more than Dave can because of I've take-home squads. We have the SWAT team. We have some different opportunities for advancement that Dave doesn't have, or a smaller PD doesn't have. And so when they get some 5 years of service at Shell Lake, and they said, well, I'll take a 5-year person from Shell Lake over a brand new person out of recruit school. I'm taking the Shell Lake guy. And so that's where sheriff's departments and some of our larger PDs have the advantage. Kirk asked about paying or about staffing at PDs and sheriff's departments. It's really going to come down to mayors and city councils increasing their wage a little bit. I think the wage has got to get caught up a little bit.
Pay attention, Kirk. Mayors.
Mayors. But they've got to stay. I mean, you've got to almost make it even. Whether you're the sheriff's department or you're a local PD, you almost got to pay the exact same. If you really want to keep your people. I mean, that's going to, we have, I think we looked at the 7 or the 5 police departments we have in Barron County, and I think every one of them paid differently. Well, they're all doing the same job.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I've been looking at that at the county level too. It's like no promises and guarantees, but we look hard at the recruiting on the front end. That conversation is quickly turned to the emphasis being on retention. And the bottom line is retention is dollars and cents.
Dave,
and these, so
Dave, in an average For people who don't know, average year, not right now, look at, like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
How many total employees or officers did work at or how many positions are there in the Shelly Police Department? And of those, how many were part-time?
Typically, we have 2 part-timers on our roster and 3 full-time. So
Okay.
we're a 3-2 department, 3 full, 2 part.
Is there
and
any-
both of those have been hired out. One of our young men is full-time in Spooner, doing a great job up there for Chief Chrisman. The other individual was hired by Chief Frank Taylor, St. Croix Tribal Police here recently. Most agencies also have a no other agency clause, working clause, at least through their probationary periods or FTO programs. I'm hopeful that,
What
and
does
I'm
that
going to
mean?
remind, they can't work for another agency while their primary agency or certifying agency is
sure,
either
sure.
training them or on their probationary status. So this is a good chance to remind
Sure.
Chief Taylor a conversation I had. I'm going to steal my guy back for some part-time work after his year's done.
Nice. Is that
So-
something that you look at now? I mean, I'm assuming there's always a need for part-time for various reasons, I'm sure. But is it one of those
Yes.
things where a lot of the times the part-timers, they're really just looking for full-time? It's not about the pay. It's, I need full-time. That maybe
It
we need to
is.
start looking into. Maybe there's always a spot for a part-timer, but we really should be focusing more on full-timers. Is that a thing, or no, we're always going to keep part-timers, and that works well for us?
It is a conversation that's being had by a lot of agencies, including mine, of course, that what's the fiscal impact to the taxpayer, those cost benefit dollars. You'll never get rid of the need for a part-time officer just to cover vacation, holiday, whatever the case may be, sick. But there's a lot of agencies looking at getting their budgetary dollars out of their part-time budget and applying it to a full-time equivalent, because you're absolutely correct, Ben, that bottom line is people want full-time with benefited
right.
jobs. WRS contributions, generally a higher
Yeah.
rate of pay.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about
gotta be
retention,
competitive. We got to be competitive.
Being part-time, that's probably not going to help that. Fitzy, do you have a lot of part-timers, and if so, does it work well?
Yeah, we don't have any part-timers, and 3 of our chiefs, I think, were going back to their city council saying, get rid of the part-timers, give me another full-timer. And so part-time law enforcement probably won't exist in a year. I mean, I just don't see it because there's too many full-time jobs out there. So we have multiple part-time positions, and they can't find a body, not an applicant, to take them, because just like Dave said, the guy's got 3 interviews. He's going to take the first full-time job that comes along,
Right.
whether it's Shell Lake, Spooner, Barron, Chautauqua, Turtle Lake, or St. Croix Travel. It don't matter. He's taking the first full-time job, because why would I want to work a rotating schedule when I can get into a set schedule, even if it's 3 weekends a month, but at least I know my schedule. I know what I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get paid more money. I can start my retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the same thing in the jail. We used to have 6 part-time jailers. We went and hired 4 full-time people and got rid of part-time jailers. We saved money in the long run, but it cost money up front. And so some of these city councils and mayors and even county boards have to look at that and say, we're not going to have part-time positions anymore. We're going to have to spend $40,000 more and get a full-time position. Otherwise, we're going to have less coverage.
Yeah.
You might end up with some extra coverage, but it's what's going to happen.
The market adjustment is driving the train too. And say you've got an officer that's got 10 years of experience or more, and they're set their wage by their governing bodies, whether it's county or city. Now these recruits that are coming right out with no experience, they're kind of an unknown quantity. They haven't been vetted and tested, so to speak, yet. They're still green, are making the same type of wages that a 10, 15, 20-year veteran are making. Well, that goes to the heart of the retention issue. Sure. And people got to have some realistic conversations about what that looks like. Well, the brand new kid with 6 months making the same kind of money as a 15-year veteran is kind of a rub.
Yeah, and we could talk about this a lot more. And actually, Dave, you're always welcome. Come back on, and maybe we'll do another one where we kind of get into that a little bit more. I want to switch over to, of course, your 2022 goals, Fitzy. But here's a question: as Barron County, or I think it has maybe, Barron County began addressing potential ripple effects of COVID, I saw a lot of PSAs regarding, what's DV?
Domestic violence?
Oh, sure. How, man, where'd it go? How did the numbers from 2020 compare to 2021? 2021.
And we'll get into that. But
Okay.
I'm just glancing at them here. Domestics were down just slightly.
Sure.
And so But as far as just on a couple last things on that hiring, Dave said there is some bills out there that are put together
Hmm.
about retentions and hiring people from out of state, and the state will allow the city to pay a bonus to those people to draw them from like Montana to Barron County, and the state will fund $5,000 signing bonuses. I'm not 100% sure that's a great idea because, again, you talk about the guy that's working here his whole life. This guy comes here and now he gets a $5,000 for just signing up to work here.
Right.
But that's going to be free money. It's not going to be a part of the counties. But again, a lot of people are signing people up and paying for their school. There's a police department doing that in Barron County and saying, but if I really want to hire the guy, they're signing 3 years deal, and if you leave in the first year, you got to pay $6,000 back to the city.
Oh, sure.
Well, you're going to see sheriff's departments saying, "I'll pay the $6,000 to get the good guy," versus, so I'm just going to pay that fee. So we'll have to come up with a fund to pay some of these fees to steal people,
All right.
because that's what it comes down to. So, but there are some things in the works, but I think part-time law enforcement it's going to be hard to find people.
Sure.
It
All
already
right.
is,
So you have 6 things that you had written down for your 2022 goals.
Yep.
First one here is create a social worker position, coordinated response with the sheriff's department in partnership with DHS.
Yeah. That is basically just what it says. We're going to put a social worker in here to handle calls with us. DHS has written a grant. We think we're going to have a 2-year trial here. We're just waiting for some final things from them, but we're hoping to hire that person in February. There'll be a social worker. Right, their office is going to be inside the sheriff's department. They're going to handle search warrants. They're going to handle jail, talking to people in the jail that may need some help. They're going to handle some of our mental health calls. They're going to handle, just about anything, whether it's Jimmy didn't want to go to school today, and where mom and dad call us, and we're going to take that social worker with us on that call. And so, I'm very, very excited about that. It's talked about in big cities. It's not talked about in smaller agencies. We're going to do a 2-year trial for just the sheriff's department. If it works, then we're going to maybe expand it to our local police departments. But we're going to see if we can save money. Maybe there's less commitments. Maybe there's less mental health issues. Maybe there's less, whatever expenses in the DHS side. So pretty excited about that.
So Dave, what we're going to do is you're going to rate. Yeah, wake up. You're going to rate all of these things. If you think, you got to let us know and be honest. If you think these goals are good goals, and if they are realistic goals. So do you like that idea that Fitzy has for their goals?
I do, and Jim and Ledoux, as we mentioned earlier in the show, and myself and the sheriff and some other people have had those conversations. I believe the acronyms CIT teams, crisis intervention team, incorporating that concept. We've never pulled the trigger on it, no pun intended. Finance dollars and cents, but with the grant opportunity through the Health and Human Service application, there might be some opportunities moving forward in Washburn County as well. So I agree that that's something to look at. I actually, last night I had city council where I presented my monthly blotter and report, and the mayor had a very good question under mental health and commitment. Even in our little world, we had 4 of them that we had to do with that were mental health issues. 3 of them didn't wind up as an in custody Chapter 51. However, having a person on site dealing with those calls with law enforcement on the street, I think there's a cost savings opportunity there, because anytime, as you guys have talked about in the past, Chapter 51s for us basically takes a car out of service for a minimum of 12 hours in Shell Lake to answer other issues. We wind up in Winnebago. If we can divert that person right there in town with a crisis worker or mental health worker on site, that frees us up to do our other patrols and our other duties. Yeah. And there's a potential of cost savings there. So I would agree with the sheriff's plan. And if he winding up with a policy or something that can be pirated fair and square that's working for him, I would certainly be reaching out to you, Sheriff, and see what that looks like to implement up here.
And Dave, I think that the key to this is I don't think we're going to save money on the front end for that 12-hour commitment. We may have that commitment still, But what I think we're going to get out of this is we're going to get follow-up faster. So we may end up still doing what law enforcement normally does. So on a law enforcement end, we might not save on the front end, but we might save on the follow-up faster. So if we have a case last night, because this social worker is not going to work 24/7 and be able to go to every call with us, but we handle a call tonight at midnight, and that social works tomorrow at noon, because I think it's a noon to 8 position and not an 8 to 4 position also. So they're going to start at noon and then say, oh man, they had, little Jimmy was acting up last night. I'm going to go to little Jimmy's school. I'm going to go to little Jimmy's home, and I'm going to follow up on that instantaneously, rather than waiting for me to type my report, it to go over, them to staff it. So I think we're going to try to get a faster. So on the front end, I don't want to promise anybody that we're going to save on that, but I think we're going to get faster follow-up. And I think that's what's key to stopping this cycle from going on. So.
All right. Well, it sounds like we are universally agreed as a committee of 3. It's unanimous conclusion that this is a good idea. So go ahead and do that for your goal, Fitzy. All right. Number 2, continue expand the education/enforcement of the methamphetamine drug issue in Barron County. That's still a thing? Meth?
Yeah. Still
yeah, it hasn't gone away.
What? Weird.
Just a little. But no, we're going to start a Chief Gobby and our meeting tomorrow with the casino. It's not the casino, but what the casino brings, still the number one place. So we're going to look at some different plans on meth enforcement. We're going to try a couple different things. We're going to continue our meth education and our town halls or whatever that is, because that dropped off during COVID. We brought it back at the end of this year, or at the end of 21, and now we're going to keep going with that in 22. So we're going to continue with that. I mean, it's a pretty logical one, it being the number one problem. It needs to be up there. And again, that social worker can maybe help with some of that.
I think, Dave, you would probably agree with that. Is there a lot of meth in, again, we're talking Barron County, or if we have other people on, we talked to Tracy Finch, et cetera, but we're talking counties there in Shell Lake of a population of 1,200-ish, somewhere in there. Is meth the biggest thing in Shell Lake?
Absolutely, and as the sheriff alluded to, those county lines, they're invisible. Those city jurisdiction lines are invisible. Okay, people from Spooner come to Shell Lake, people from Barron, vice versa. It's just a cycle. Those invisible boundaries or jurisdictions mean nothing when you're in that conversation about methamphetamine. It's not uncommon for us to run into people. It's like, well, what are you doing here? And you look at their address on their driver's license, like, you ain't, you're here for a reason. It ain't because you wanted the local, the gas station here was better and you drove 40 miles. Okay.
Right. So whatever. So I think we're all in agreement that that's a good one too, right, Dave? We're gonna say okay, good, okay. That's 2 for 2. We're banging on all cylinders here.
All right.
Next one is continue, expand / upgrade our equipment to keep our staff safe. Looks like vis-a-vis new body squad camera program and night thermal vision equipment. What?
Yeah.
Okay, I really want to get into that second one, but
no,
what do you
Ben,
mean?
you can't have any.
Oh, wow. New body squad camera program. What is that?
So basically, we obviously body cameras are the most important tool we have in law enforcement in today's world. Maybe it shouldn't be, but it is. So we're beyond the point of having that discussion of should a department have or not. We all have them. Okay. So you have this body camera where it needs to be replaced. We were budgeting to replace it. Equipment is hard to get. Technology equipment is hard to get still with COVID. So we're going to a new program probably today, a new body camera. Basically, it uses our current cell phones is the camera, and it's a program, and we can view it live, and there's some pretty good technology.
When you say
there.
We can view it live,
not you, me.
No, Ben, just no.
Yeah, just no. Yeah. But our dispatch, the most important people is our dispatch can view it live. Like we can currently view our squad cameras live, and I think it's a very good feature to have. Not a lot of squad camera systems allow that, but now our body camera systems will be to allow that. It's a little bit cheaper on the front end to get this, so I'm going to save a little bit of money. We wrote a grant. We got a night vision, thermal vision grant. We're going to put as many pieces of equipment we can in our squads for some thermal vision. We're out searching for people. We're going to look at that thermal rather than that night vision. Night vision is very expensive. Thermal's a little cheaper, so we're going to go with some thermal vision equipment for our squads to help locate people. It's just easier to find people in the dark, so we're going to go with that. That's all grant funded, so it should be free to the taxpayer.
Is the thermal the one that detects heat?
Correct.
Yes, I just unlocked that on one of my weapons Kenneth and I did on Call of Duty Vanguard on multiplayer. And that's
just like
legit.
that.
That
It's
is
just
so
like
much
real
fun.
life too, man.
Oh,
It's exactly the same.
so cool. Love
And-
that.
And obviously, Dave knows from his military background that, that's a very good tool in the military, and they have some pretty high tech stuff. But we won't get that high tech, but we won't get Call of Duty high tech. We'll be just a little bit below that.
Well, Call of Duty's $60, so yeah. Dave, are you in support of that? Is that one of those things? Body cams, and obviously night thermal vision. I think we would all agree is good. But body cam in general, is that something? Does Shellick Police Department have body cams?
We do not.
Should they, do you think?
This is where one of those interesting conversations offline that I've had briefly with the sheriff. I don't think that I'm going to go there. There's a lot of reasons. Fiscal responsibility is part of it. The records retention piece of it, how long you got to keep this data. I do have cameras in both of my squad cars, audio and video, but I'm very hesitant, at least at the moment, about the body cam. I know there's a lot of initiatives out there. There's a lot of narrative, even at the legislative level, to I might be forced to.
Sure.
But at the moment, no. And I think
That's got to be a huge
also
cost,
some of the
too.
other. What's that?
It's got to be a huge cost, too, and it's not just
Oh,
the
a huge
of
cost. A
having
little Shell Lake, we're talking Sheriff's
Right.
Department versus Little Shell Lake. We're comparing
Oh, yeah,
apples and
come on.
oranges financially. So what I would hopefully take that narrative and turn my hat around and support my sheriff's office from a budgetary standpoint, which is always a difficult conversation because it's direct tax levy money. That is the only funding source for a sheriff's office. Other departments have other revenue sources available to them. So, if I can put that energy and those concepts toward the sheriff's office, and then we obviously work closely with them and any of those assets that might be needed while supporting Shell Lake PD operations and working mutually together, I think that would be where I'd put my energies at. And, that's where I think I'm going with that concept.
Sure. So I think, so let's say it's a 1 for me, Fitzy, a yay, but yeah, I mean, it's good for you, but maybe not us from a Dave. But we're still going to call that a win. 2 out of 3.
And actually, Dave, if this program works, I think you'll like this new squad camera system because it's a rental and there's not a lot of cost. There's no cost up front except a subscription. And I think so when we get this, St. Croix County does it. Washington County, Minnesota does it on the border. I've been pretty impressed with it. I went down to St. Croix County and looked at their jail. Their jailers have it in their jail, and the patrol has it. So it might work for smaller departments. And we talked about that at our chiefs meeting here. It might be the answer to not put out $50,000 up front for squad or body cameras for a small department. So it might be the answer. I'm hoping it is for you guys, and we'll talk more obviously about it if it works.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So the next one here, it looks like this is kind of just a self-explanatory. Continue to work on community issues with the Citizen Action and Advisory Team. Anything you want to add to that, Fitzy?
No, we just still have that team in place. We didn't meet in December. Obviously, we're going to meet here in a couple weeks and talk about the stats here and where they think what would be good to work on from their standpoint. We want to continue to expand our community relations, which is the next one.
Yeah, these next two, really, I'm very interested in. Increase our community engagement with a new grant to provide meals to a variety of groups in our community. That isn't something I think is law enforcement. I would not have tied those two things together. Therefore, I wasn't aware that there would even be a grant for something like this. Tell us more about it.
So I got a small grant and the ability to add to that grant if I need to from a local entrepreneur that wanted to increase law enforcement interaction with different groups, whether Somalis, Native Americans, and different groups, just regular people too. So we're going to do some coffee with the cops. We've had that meal on the tribe a couple months ago.
Yeah.
That worked really well. We're in the planning stages of a meal with the Somali population here in Barron. It's a fun event. There's nothing goes on, but we bring some outside agencies to this, whether it's Embrace or St. Croix Valley Sexual Assault or the local library, and say, hey, come, we're going to be the draw, because food draws people. And so we're going to have this food be the draw.
Food's the thing.
And come and talk to the cops and have a fun day and throw some Frisbees around, eat some Subway or pizza, whatever we buy. And then there's a couple resources available if people want them. If you don't, eat a pizza and leave.
Love it.
We don't care. But it's just something, a different way to reach out to people. That's what I love to do. And we're going to continue to do that with some pretty cool things.
Yeah, speaking of pretty cool things, last one here was thank those who continue to support. Again, these are 2022 goals for the Barron County Sheriff's Department and probably you.
Right.
Fitzy, thank those who continue to support our department with business/individual of the month.
Yeah, and we talked about that with you, and I think mine's going to be called the Golden Ticket. And every month we want to give somebody a golden ticket. What that golden ticket means is still in the works, but we need to thank some of these businesses and do a better job of thanking some of these businesses that support us, or individuals that maybe do something really cool out there to support law enforcement. And we just want to recognize that. Everybody thanks us. It was Law Enforcement Appreciation Day on Sunday, and people brought us notes and meals, and the Law Enforcement Foundation of Barron County does a good job of getting people involved in supporting law enforcement. So I have this idea. Again, it's going to take some while to develop, but when we get ready to announce that, we'll have an exclusive here on DrydenWire.
Well, that's good, because actually I had this idea. I think I texted you this weekend that I like this idea of this Ben and Fitzy Positive Impact Award.
Right.
That we give out monthly, or maybe not even monthly, but just something that goes out. Sometimes. So that actually, do that, your thing instead. But I do have a question. How do I get to be an honorary deputy? What do I have to do? And what do I get for that? I'm sure not funny. Thermal. But
do you really want to tell him that, Sheriff?
Yeah,
like, we do a lot for law enforcement. I kind of feel like if there's anyone that isn't in law enforcement that would have, I think I should at least be considered. You just want to play with the
lights and siren.
Kind of. I mean, I have no authority or power or anything, and I don't like guns, so I don't want one of those. What do I have to do?
Wilson, let me tell you how this story went. So he texts me this and says, how do you do honorary deputies? And I'm like, well, I've never done one, but I would love to do one. Do you know somebody that, I'm thinking it's like a kid with cancer or something like that. Like he wants this would be really cool. This kid wants to be a cop and he's sick, and let's just do something great for him. And I'm like, what's your idea? And he goes, well, I want to be one. I'm like,
here we go.
So it wasn't like I'm thinking, oh, Ben, that's a great idea. I would love to do that.
I also think it's a great idea for Ben.
Some make a wish thing or something, But I'm like, man, yeah.
That was a private conversation. That's a private conversation.
So don't have that one. They're that funny. So yes, no, I've never done it, and yes, I would. And you're kind of an honorary member, Ben.
See,
but you can't have night vision.
Yeah, no night vision, no therms.
I'll take an airboat going out on the lake, busting drunk boaters on 4th of July. How about that?
Okay.
Can I do that, or at least ride along? That'd be nice.
Oh, Amanda's got a classic for you there, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm an honorary deputy. I like that.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so that's all we have, and we're already way past our time. Thank you so much for both coming on and spending this much time. Dave, certainly, thank you. You have somewhere at 11 and
yeah, I got a 11 o'clock, a 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then hockey dad later. So
right.
That's right.
And you started early this morning, and I do want to say a special thank you to you as well, Dave. I think Fitz and I have talked about this, and I've stated in the past on the show that I do not believe, or at least I do not know anyone that does more for the citizens of Washburn County than you do. And I mean that with all sincerity, whether it's your role as the Shell Lake Police Chief, which they should be grateful to have you, in everything that you do for the city of Shell Lake, but then also you are at every single meeting, you're active, you're engaged, you show up, you're passionate, You're a peacekeeper. You like to figure out how we can make things better. You're behind the scenes. I get it. Sometimes people may not like that stuff. Sometimes people, again, believe it or not, don't like Fitzy or I. We call them idiots, but that's okay.
There's a few people I won't get Christmas cards from, I'm sure.
But no kidding. Thank you for everything you do. You're an absolute rock star. Thank you, and you're my friend. I love you, buddy. Thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for everything that you do.
Appreciate it, and it's always my pleasure to be able to serve.
Top that, Fitzy.
Yeah. I love
Dave.
you. I love you too, Dave.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Wilson.
Take care, gentlemen.
You've been watching Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy, presented by Professional Exteriors and Interiors. Like Fitzy and I, Professional Exteriors and Interiors believes that little things make a big difference. With nearly 20 years of experience, they provide quality work both on the outside and on the inside of your home or business. For more information, give Brian a call at 715-520-2271. For Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, I'm Ben Dryden saying thank you for all of the positive words, the interaction, and all of your comments. We'll see you right back here next Tuesday for another episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. And this Thursday, I will be chatting with Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany for our monthly Breakfast with Tiffany show. So until next time, remember, it's the little things that make a big difference. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a blessed day.